Hey guys, step into the backstage of Buckingham Palace, where ancient walls hide 1,000 secrets, where splendor and shadow intertwine, and where every choice is a gamble with destiny. Tonight, as dusk falls and the world settles into silence, let me take you on an unforgettable journey. Turn off all the lights, snuggle under a warm blanket, and let your mind immerse itself in the world you are about to enter. The world of Princess Margaret, a fiery soul who dared to live, dared to love, and dared to pay the price for freedom in a world where duty was everything. This story is not just a story. It is a mirror reflecting burning desires, ceaseless internal battles, and resounding laughter mixed with silent tears. You will feel every breath of history, taste the bitterness of loneliness amidst the crowd, and witness the incandescent moments of extraordinary talent. From the booming cannons celebrating your birth, to the clandestine outings outside the palace, or the lavish parties concealing inner turmoil, every detail will touch your senses and evoke the deepest emotions. This is the story of a woman who challenged every limit, a thorny yet enchanting rose, forever a symbol of rebellion against constraint. If you are listening to this story from a cozy sofa, or finding a quiet corner, or even somewhere far across the globe, I hope this story reaches you. Don't forget to like if you are captivated, subscribe to not miss the next chapters of this fateful journey, and leave a comment below to let me know your thoughts. Now, take a deep breath and prepare for an unforgettable experience.
The world held its breath in the hushed, ancient halls of Glamis Castle that fateful August morning. Outside, the Scottish mists still clung to the turrets, a veil over the promise of a new day. But inside, a different kind of anticipation hummed in the air, thick as the morning fog. You, Margaret Rose Windsor, arrived on August 21, 1930, a tiny rosebud blossoming amidst the stoic grandeur of royalty, a splash of vibrant color in a monochromatic world. Your birth brought a wave of effervescent joy to your parents, Prince Albert and Duchess Elizabeth, a welcome melody in a family still navigating the subtle, unspoken currents of destiny. Yet even in that cradle of innocence, an unseen thread of melancholic premonition wove itself into your earliest moments, a low, resonant note in the otherwise triumphant symphony of your arrival, as if the very stones of the castle, heavy with centuries of royal history, already knew the tumultuous path your spirited soul would trace. The cold from the ancient stone walls permeated the crisp new linen of your bassinet, yet you felt only the enveloping warmth of your mother's embrace, a fragile life force cradled amidst the grand, distant legacy of a dynasty. A distant church bell chimed, mingling with the midwife's soft sigh of relief. But somewhere, deep within the castle's shadowy nooks, a somber chord was struck, like the whispered prophecy of a storm yet to form. Cannons boomed across London, their thunderous applause echoing from the Tower of London and shaking the trees in Hyde Park, announcing your arrival to a nation eager for royal news. You were a new princess, a fresh face in the age-old tapestry of the monarchy, a fleeting moment of pure, unburdened delight. This wasn't just sound, it was a small earthquake, rattling your tiny bones even as you lay swaddled, a fierce welcome from the world outside. Your parents smiled, their faces alight with an overflowing joy, But you, an unintended bloom, were already positioned in a quiet corner of the royal garden, far from the central blaze of attention. Fourth in line, a meaningless number to an infant, yet it whispered of a less fettered fate, a promise of a life that could be your own, a sweet illusion you would later fight fiercely to protect. Years later, as a bright-eyed 6-year-old, you could feel it, the tension in the air at 145 Piccadilly, your family home. It hung heavy like a summer storm about to break, the kind that gathers silently before unleashing its fury. Can you recall the stillness, the sudden sharp silence that would fall over the room whenever the names David and Wallace were uttered, like a spell cast in hushed tones? This wasn't ordinary discomfort. It was a cold dread seeping through the velvet of the sofa, a chilling draught from a room locked away. Your father, Albert, his shoulders seeming heavier than usual, often stared out the window, his gaze distant, while your mother, Duchess Elizabeth, her ever-present smile now a faint, wavering line, sometimes clasped her hands so tightly her knuckles turned white. You, a 6-year-old, hadn't yet grasped words like abdication or divorce, but you intuitively understood the language of fear, of unspoken anxiety, a secret buried beneath the deepening lines on adult foreheads. Your Uncle David was a dazzling figure, a whirlwind of charm and modernity whenever he graced Piccadilly with his presence, a fresh breeze in the stuffy chambers of tradition. He could make you giggle with a mere wink, his eyes holding a certain rebellious glint that perhaps even then resonated with something deep within you, a kindred spirit in miniature. Yet as if a dark cloud drifted across the sun, the name Wallace Simpson would inevitably appear. It wasn't just a name, it was a whisper laden with judgment, a frigid current that instantly silenced those around you. Can you see it, the averted gazes, the forced, brittle smiles that blossomed on the lips of ladies whenever that name was mentioned, as if it were a curse word? The grand walls of Piccadilly, stoic and silent, absorbed every flicker of anger, every pursed lip, becoming silent witnesses to a tragedy unfolding, a relentless clock ticking down to inevitable upheaval.
Then came the thunderclap, a December day in 1936 that would forever tear your world apart. King Edward VIII declared his abdication, a seismic crack that splintered the very bedrock of monarchy. The news reverberated through the palace like a phantom bell, echoing the end of an era, a death knell for romantic illusion. Can you hear it still, the choked sobs of your mother, muffled by velvet drapes, mixed with the hushed sniffles of the household staff, a somber symphony of grief? Your father, Albert, your quiet hero, seemed to crumple into his armchair, his shoulders trembling visibly under the weight of an invisible crown just thrust upon him, like a fragile branch suddenly laden with impossible fruit. It was a terrifying, bewildering moment for a 6-year-old. Do you remember the unfamiliarity, the almost alien sensation of hearing him addressed as Your Majesty for the very first time? Realizing that the man who just yesterday read you bedtime stories was now the king,
a figure simultaneously beloved and impossibly burdened. That sudden seismic shift in identity was not just a historical event, it was a deeply personal earthquake, forever altering the landscape of your family and, irrevocably, your own destiny, a gilded cage slamming shut around your future. The shift was swift and stark. You left the warmth and familiar laughter of your home at 145 Piccadilly, trading its cozy intimacy for the imposing grandeur of Buckingham Palace. Can you still feel the profound chill that seemed to emanate from its vast, echoing halls, a stark contrast to the lively sounds of your childhood home, like stepping from a warm hearth into an icy cavern? The ornate chandeliers, the gilded ceilings, the endless corridors felt less like a new home and more like a fortress of unspoken rules, each one a visible chain. Every step within those hallowed walls was a step deeper into a life defined by duty, a life where every gesture, every whisper carried the weight of a nation, a silent symphony of expectations played out in hushed tones. This monumental move was not just a change of address, it was the opening of a mysterious, intricate door, suggesting a future filled with new expectations and an almost overwhelming sense of purpose, a harsh reminder that your personal desires would forever be intertwined with the destiny of a kingdom, a sacrifice laid on the altar of the crown. The most profound shift, perhaps, was the sudden, inexplicable absence of Uncle David from your daily life. The charming, often playful figure who had once brought a sparkle to family gatherings simply vanished, leaving behind a void that even your young mind could sense, a hollow echo in the once vibrant corridors. Do you recall the quiet bewilderment, the questions bubbling up within you that you couldn't quite articulate, about why someone so beloved could simply disappear, as if swallowed by the very earth? This was your very first, deeply personal encounter with the brutal cost of royal duty, a stark lesson etched into your innocent heart, a searing brandmark of future sacrifice. It wasn't taught in a classroom. It was delivered through the silent, aching void left by a king who chose love over a crown, a choice that would ironically set the stage for your own future battles, a tragic prelude to your own symphony of sorrow.
The abdication of your Uncle David wasn't merely a headline. It was a profound, almost spiritual reordering of your universe. It laid bare the unforgiving truth of the monarchy. The crown always came first, a tyrannical master demanding absolute obedience. You, a child barely old enough to grasp the concept of kingship, began to understand the true cost of the throne. Could you sense it? The invisible pressure, a weight not meant for your small frame, yet absorbed through every breath in the palace's hallowed air? It was the seed of a bitter truth. Love could make a king abdicate, but the throne could also crush hearts that dared to love. From those days, a pattern for your life was set, a harsh blueprint for a princess, a destiny you could not escape, a burden you never chose, but were fated to carry. As this story's initial journey draws to a close, picture yourself, a young Princess Margaret, playing amidst the manicured gardens of Buckingham Palace. Your laughter echoes, light and carefree, yet your gaze drifts, drawn to the ancient stone walls that enclose your world, like silent, watchful giants.
Beyond them lies an unknown, a future that whispers promises and threats in equal measure. Do you sense it, a potent yearning for what lies beyond those stone walls, for adventures only dreamed of, for a space where your spirit might truly roam free? It's a silent prophecy from the sands of time, a restless premonition of a turbulent future, where you, a fiercely independent soul, would ceaselessly battle for your own space against the crushing weight of expectations in a world you never truly chose, a relentless struggle for self-definition. This abdication crisis, unfolding before your innocent eyes, was not just a cold historical record. It was a distorted mirror, reflecting with brutal clarity the internal battles you would face, the unyielding tug-of-war between the burning flame of love and the unyielding shackles of duty. Can you break free from this tragic mold, Margaret? Will you defy the gravitational pull of expectation? Or will you, too, ultimately succumb to those same invisible chains that bound your uncle, that weighed so heavily on your father, leading to your own distinct, perhaps even more public, fall? That question, like an ancient curse, now hangs suspended in the air, awaiting its answer from the unfolding tapestry of your very own life, a poignant echo destined to resonate through generations. Within the ancient, echoing chambers of Buckingham Palace, where whispered history seemed to cling to every tapestry and gilded frame, you, Princess Margaret, were a vibrant, defiant spark. While your elder sister, Elizabeth, moved through her meticulously structured world with the calm precision of a seasoned mariner charting a steady course, you were a tiny, incandescent flame, effervescent, quick-witted, and brimming with an undeniable artistic talent. Do you remember the almost painful joy, the way your small fingers, still chubby and unrefined, first fumbled across the cold ivory keys of the grand piano? The music, at first a playful cacophony of discordant notes, then a blossoming melody, swelled and resonated through the solemn halls, a rebellious counterpoint to the palace's inherent silence, a wild bird song in a gilded fortress. Your impromptu dances, unchoreographed and utterly joyful, made your petticoat swirl, illuminating the air as your feet became a blur of motion. Your uncanny gift for mimicry, so precise and hilariously accurate, brought peals of genuine, unrestrained laughter from even the most stoic members of your family, an oasis of spontaneous mirth in a desert of decorum. They often whispered your music could truly dispel the gloom, the courtiers would say, that your laughter was a much-needed balm for the heavy heart of the palace after the abdication. You embraced the spotlight, believing the world, especially your royal world, was a stage custom-built for your boundless energy and inherent charisma, a golden stage where you could always shine brightest. Yet deep within your burgeoning consciousness, a chilling intuition, like a cold finger tracing lines on your heart, whispered that this dazzling freedom was merely a temporary reprieve, a fleeting privilege granted to the younger sister, forever unbound by the crushing weight of the crown. From the quiet, reflective study where Elizabeth pored over constitutional history with the grave intensity of a seasoned scholar, the scratch of her pen often the only sound, to the chaotic, vibrant rooms where you frequently orchestrated dramatic delaying tactics for your own lessons, the contrast between you two was a study in eloquent opposition. Elizabeth was the sturdy oak, rooted deep in duty and tradition, absorbing knowledge with meticulous diligence, her very posture a testament to future responsibility, bathed in the soft, studious glow of a reading lamp. You, however, were the wild vine, eager to stretch, to explore, often finding creative, mischievous ways to divert attention or postpone academic drudgery, your imagination a colorful fortress against the invasion of dry facts. Yet in those shared glances, a silent language passed between you. A knowing smile exchanged across the breakfast table, or a quick conspiratorial wink when a governess wasn't looking, affirmed a profound, unbreakable bond that shimmered beneath your surface differences. You were two halves of a royal coin, irrevocably different, yet inextricably linked, a testament to sisterly love that transcended even the vast chasm of royal destiny, as solid as the ancient stone walls that protected you both. Your innate talent for mimicry was nothing short of extraordinary, a comedic superpower that could instantly transform any formal gathering into a riot of laughter. You could capture the precise, affected cadence of a visiting dignitary's speech, the imperious, slightly bewildered tilt of a great-aunt's head as she sipped her tea, or the nervous, almost avian fidgeting of a junior equerry with astonishing accuracy. Can you still hear the booming, unrestrained laughter of your father, King George VI, usually so reserved as he slapped his thigh in delight? Or the melodic, unrestrained giggles of your mother, Queen Elizabeth, their eyes crinkling with pure, unadulterated joy as you paraded your latest, uncannily accurate masterpiece? Those were moments of pure, unfiltered connection, where the crushing weight of their roles seemed to lift, if only for a few precious seconds, a shared exhale in the suffocating grandeur. Your mischievous brilliance was a beacon in the often stifling air of court, drawing all eyes, all smiles, directly to you, affirming your unique ability to captivate and charm, a formidable weapon you would wield, for better or worse, throughout your life.
Amidst the grandeur and strictures of palace life, Marion Crawford, affectionately known as Crawfie, emerged as your unwitting godmother of freedom. This spirited governess, an anomaly in the royal machinery, bravely opened a window to the outside world, allowing fresh air, laden with the scent of possibility, to sweep through your cloistered existence. Do you recall the exhilarating chill of anonymity, a delicious secret, as you, two princesses, slipped out of palace gates for clandestine walks in Hyde Park, disguised in old coats and wide-brimmed hats like ordinary children? The palpable thrill of navigating the rattling London buses, the subterranean rumble and hot metallic smell of the underground, the cacophony of street vendors' cries, the sweet aroma of freshly baked bread wafting from corner bakeries. These were precious, stolen moments. You relished the feeling of jostling against strangers on a crowded pavement, the wind whipping through your hair, the fine mist of rain on your face, a stark sensory contrast to the hushed, static air of the palace. These were breaths of genuine, unvarnished life, snatched from what felt like a beautifully wrought cage, offering you the fleeting sensation of what it truly meant to be simply you, a temporary liberation from the golden chains that bound your title. Your parents, and even Elizabeth, seemed to implicitly grant you, the younger sister, a subtle, almost unspoken latitude. While Elizabeth's life was meticulously choreographed, every step a preparation for the throne, your path was marked by a relative lack of rigid oversight. This wasn't neglect, but a quiet concession to your vibrant, irrepressible spirit, a soft leash rather than a tight rein. They permitted your artistic explorations, your spontaneous flights of fancy, your occasional bursts of rebellious mischief, allowing you to develop without the crushing pressure of future monarchy. Did you, with the playful cunning of a wild fox, instinctively exploit this unspoken privilege, testing the boundaries of decorum and expectation? This subtle leniency, this deliberate loosening of the royal corset, nurtured the very wildness that would later define you, a seedling of untamed spirit growing in the meticulously manicured formal royal garden, already reaching for the sun beyond the walls. Yet despite your vivacious spirit, your magnetic charm, and the constant admiration that swirled around you, there were moments, often in the quietest hours, when a profound sense of loneliness would wash over you, a cold tide creeping into the vibrant shores of your childhood. Could you still feel that peculiar ache, a gnawing emptiness like a discordant note in the symphony of your early years? A feeling of not quite belonging, of being slightly out of sync even within your own family. You watched Elizabeth receive lessons in statesmanship, her young shoulders already bearing the immense weight of destiny, a path clear and unwavering. Your own relative freedom, while precious, came with a subtle void, a lack of a defined brand purpose. It was a strange, bittersweet paradox. The very liberty that liberated you from immediate duty also left you adrift, without a solid anchor in the vast sea of royal expectation. This absence of a clear destiny, this subtle sense of being less essential than your sister, planted the first tiny seeds of insecurity deep within your soul, a yearning to carve out a definitive space of your own, to prove your worth beyond the shadow of a future queen. As you grew, a subtle, yet undeniable divergence in your education began to solidify your unspoken roles. While Elizabeth delved into the intricacies of constitutional history, British law, and the dense tapestry of the Commonwealth, her mind absorbing facts like a sponge, your lessons gravitated towards the arts, literature, poetry, musical theory, languages, painting. You immersed yourself in the world of beauty and expression. Can you pinpoint the exact moment, Margaret, when a casual comment from a governess, or perhaps an overheard remark from a passing courtier, connected the disjointed pieces, illuminating your path not as a ruler, but as a cultural embellishment? This silent curriculum, subtly devoid of statecraft, was a harsh tutor, teaching you that your purpose was to shine in the shadow, to entertain rather than to reign. This realization, even in its nascent form, carried the bittersweet tang of both relief from the crushing burden, and a nascent resentment, a slow-burning ember of injustice.
The annual Christmas performances at Windsor Castle became your undisputed domain, your personal proscenium arch. Here, amidst the festive cheer, the scent of pine and roast meats, and the appreciative gaze of family and courtiers, you consistently commanded the stage, invariably cast as the dazzling leading lady. Do you remember the intoxicating rush of applause, a wave of pure validation that washed over you, the sheer delight of captivating an audience, of being the undisputed center of attention, if only for a few fleeting hours, a brief reign of your own? These were not mere amateur theatricals, they were your self-created arenas of triumph. Places where your innate sparkle could truly ignite, where your vivacious spirit could soar unhindered by the strictures of royal protocol. It was your way of building your own kingdom, a kingdom of performance, where your talent, not your title, was the true crown, a glittering rebellion against the quiet expectations of your birth, a defiant flourish. As the day waned, you often found yourself in a quiet moment, gazing out a palace window, the cool glass pressed against your cheek, the changing light outside, the muffled sounds of the distant city traffic, all filtered through the thick panes. Can you still summon those vivid dreams, Margaret, of a life stretching far beyond the ornate iron-barred windows of your grand dwelling, a world where you could truly unfurl your wings and soar, unburdened by the unseen chains of royalty? Despite your vibrant spirit, your undeniable charisma, and the relative freedom you enjoyed, you sensed the profound mystery of an uncertain future, a silent premonition of destiny. This sense of liberation, intoxicating as it was, whispered with the bittersweet brevity of a summer breeze, for deep down you knew it was merely a temporary reprieve, a fragile bubble of independence in a world defined by unbreakable bonds and ancient obligations. Wild and untamed, Crawfie once remarked, her words a soft sigh in the hallowed halls, a gentle but firm observation of your essence, contrasting your vibrant spirit with Elizabeth's gracious and kind composure. Did those words sting even then, a prickle of unease that lingered, an unsettling echo of a truth too raw, too stark to fully comprehend? This subtle observation, a precise diagnosis of your very being, would resonate throughout your life, an enduring prophecy about your true nature and the inevitable troubles it would invite. It was a poignant farewell from a beloved mentor, a haunting whisper that foretold both your brilliance and your unavoidable heartbreak in the grand, unforgiving theater of royal life, a performance that was only just beginning.
The piercing guttural wail of the air-raid siren tore through the serene twilight calm of Windsor Castle, a monstrous shriek that ripped the peaceful fabric of your childhood into jagged shreds. It wasn't a distant hum on the wireless. It was a visceral, metallic scream that vibrated through the very stones of the ancient fortress, a sound that would forever brand itself onto your memory, a banshee's cry announcing the end of innocence. Panic, an almost tangible, icy wave swept through the palace, visible in the wide, terrified eyes of the footmen, the trembling hands of the maids, their hushed whispers now replaced by frantic, urgent shouts. You, a young Princess Margaret, stood frozen for a bewildered moment, the grand chandeliers above you swaying almost imperceptibly as the sudden chaos made your head swim, a disorienting whirl of frantic motion and terrified faces. This piercing sound, a raw wound in the gathering darkness, marked the precise moment when conflict officially breached the gilded gates of your royal existence, dragging you from childhood's quiet harbor into the roaring, unpredictable currents of a world at war, a brutal initiation into a reality colder and harsher than any fairy tale. In the ensuing maelstrom, you and Elizabeth, still clad in your soft embroidered nightgowns, were scooped up by stern-faced equerries, their movements swift and unyielding. Your small feet barely touched the ground as you were hurried down, down, down into the castle's ancient underbelly, a cold stone dungeon, grimly repurposed now as a subterranean shelter. Can you still hear it, the frantic thud of boots echoing on the uneven, frigid stone steps, the heavy, grating groan as the massive bunker door, thick as a bank vault, swung shut behind you, severing you from the world above with a resounding, desolate boom? The air in that enclosed space was thick with the suffocating scent of damp earth, centuries of dust and the metallic tang of fear, clinging to the rough-hewn walls like a second skin. It was a suffocating embrace of impenetrable darkness and clammy dampness, the flickering oil lamps casting long dancing shadows that twisted and writhed like ghostly sentinels guarding your fragile lives. That first descent felt like being swallowed whole, a slow, terrifying digestion by the very foundations of the castle. Night after night, this claustrophobic existence became your grim reality. The muffled thud of distant bombs, a chilling rhythmic pulse beneath the earth, would escalate into deafening explosions that vibrated through the very foundations of the castle, rattling the makeshift cots and setting your teeth on edge. Do you remember the visceral sensation, the ground trembling violently beneath you? A primal tremor that snaked up your spine, leaving you breathless, nauseated, and wide awake in the oppressive darkness. The distant shattering of glass from above ground, the muffled screams of those caught outside, the occasional sprinkle of dust and grit from the ceiling, all underscored your utter powerlessness. The flickering oil lamps cast grotesque dancing shadows on the rough stone walls, transforming familiar faces into haunting caricatures of fear and exhaustion. Elizabeth, ever the stoic, would sometimes reach for your hand in the darkest moments, a silent comfort, her small fingers intertwining with yours, a shared lifeline in the abyss. Sleep, when it came, was a fleeting, tormented guest, haunted by the distant thunderous symphony of destruction, by nightmares of crumbling stone and piercing sirens. Waking in the suffocating stillness, your heart would pound against your ribs, a frantic drumbeat in the oppressive silence, pregnant with unspoken dread. The endless monotony of waiting, the hushed, strained conversations, the heavy, deliberate ticking of a hidden clock, each second a leaden weight, all contributed to the surreal atmosphere of your subterranean prison. Gone were the lavish multi-course meals of peacetime, the delicate china, the attentive footman. In the bunker, every plate of food was portioned with a scrupulous precision that spoke volumes of scarcity, a stark reminder that even royalty was not immune to wartime privations. Can you recall the surprisingly coarse texture of the rationed bread, dry and unyielding on your tongue, the bland, monotonous taste of boiled vegetables, a profound contrast to the culinary artistry of your past? There were moments, fleeting but potent, when you yearned for the forgotten taste of cream cakes or the crisp sweetness of an unrationed apple. But this shared hardship forged an unexpected bond. You and Elizabeth worked alongside the palace staff, your small hands digging into the rich, cold soil of the royal gardens, planting rows of cabbages and carrots, your fingers stained with dirt, your muscles aching. You would feel the triumphant thrill when tiny green sprouts finally pushed through the earth, a miniature victory against the forces of destruction. An old gardener, his face etched with worry, would nod approvingly. "We are fighting this war in the soil too, your highnesses. Every sprout is a victory." Later, with clumsy but determined stitches, you would knit scratchy wool jumpers for anonymous soldiers on the front lines, your needles clicking a quiet rhythm of solidarity, each stitch a silent prayer for their safe return.
The war also stretched the already vast chasm between you and your parents, King George VI and Queen Elizabeth. They remained steadfast in London, a twin beacon of unwavering resolve for a besieged nation, their duty anchoring them to the heart of the storm. Can you feel the constant ache of longing that settled in your young chest, a hollow, persistent emptiness reserved for their absent laughter, their comforting presence? Nights were often sleepless, filled with the echo of their voices in your memory.
Weekends, when they might briefly escape the relentless pressure of the capital to visit Windsor, became precious, ephemeral oases. Those rare encounters were tinged with a quiet desperation, a frantic clinging to fleeting moments of parental warmth, like a parched traveler clutching a few drops of water in a vast desert. You'd watch your father's weary eyes, the subtle tension in your mother's shoulders, realizing the immense, invisible burden they carried. The moments of goodbye were always excruciating, a fresh wound opening with each departure, the sound of their car driving away fading into the vast silence of the castle, leaving you once again to the company of shadows, a profound sense of abandonment. Yet amidst the pervasive gloom and the ever-present threat, you, Margaret, discovered a new, vital purpose: the stage. The Christmas performances at Windsor Castle, simple yet profoundly impactful, became your personal beacons of hope, radiating warmth into the chilled, war-torn hearts of the military personnel and palace staff. Do you remember the exhilarating rush of the simple footlights on your face, the scent of grease paint as you stepped into your role, your voice clear and strong, commanding every eye? You transformed the makeshift stage, often adorned with simple drapes and flickering fairy lights, into a portal to a world free from sirens and bombs, a brief, magical escape. One year you played Cinderella, twirling in a borrowed gown, your voice ringing through the hall. The laughter and applause from the audience, the worn faces of soldiers, the tired smiles of palace staff were your most cherished rewards. Could you see it? The simple but brilliant stage lights, a tiny but fierce lighthouse piercing through the encroaching darkness, guiding weary souls to a moment of shared joy, a fleeting reprieve from their grim reality. This was not just entertainment, it was your contribution, your purpose, the way you became essential, a balm for a wounded nation's soul. The fires of war, though devastating, forged a new kind of strength within you, stripping away the last vestiges of your carefree innocence with brutal efficiency. From a light-hearted, playful child, you slowly matured, your eyes gaining a deeper, more somber understanding of the immense suffering gripping your nation. The childish pranks faded, replaced by a quiet, watchful awareness. Did you perceive it, that profound, almost painful shift within your spirit, a gradual hardening of resolve as you began to grasp the true weight of responsibility, a burden not tied to a throne, but to a shared destiny, to the very survival of your people? This was your first true initiation into the concept of duty, not a theoretical lesson from a textbook, but a harsh, visceral truth delivered by the roar of falling bombs, the gnawing hunger of rationing, and the weary faces of those around you. It was a baptism by fire, a forced awakening that etched the meaning of sacrifice deep into your soul, a solemn vow not whispered to a crown, but to a suffering people, forged in the crucible of conflict. Even amidst the chaos of war, your formidable grandmother, Queen Mary, remained a steadfast sentinel of royal tradition and education. From her temporary residence at Badminton House, she would often visit, bringing with her an unwavering sense of continuity and purpose. Can you recall those solemn yet strangely fascinating visits to deserted museums and silent art galleries within the castle, their precious treasures hidden away for safekeeping, as your grandmother, her voice precise and unyielding, meticulously educated you on history, on the meaning of your lineage, and the enduring duties of the crown. In those quiet, often chilly spaces, filled with the ghosts of forgotten grandeur, she sought to engrave upon your impressionable mind the profound significance of your family's place in a world irrevocably altered by conflict. She taught you that even in times of profound uncertainty, the symbols of continuity, of resilience, were paramount. A timeless lesson etched into your very being by the steady hand of tradition, a quiet defiance against oblivion. Whispers, faint at first, then growing louder like a gathering storm, circulated throughout the palace about a desperate contingency plan, evacuating you and Elizabeth to the perceived safety of Canada. The thought of being sent across the vast, cold ocean, of leaving your parents, your home, the very soil of England, sent a tremor of fear through your young heart, a deep, unsettling uncertainty. But then came the unwavering voice of your mother, Queen Elizabeth, a figure of astounding fortitude. Her refusal, delivered with a quiet but indomitable resolve, echoed through the halls. "The children will not go without me. I will not leave the king, and the king will never leave." This resolute stance, this unshakable commitment to duty, underscored the extraordinary courage of your family in the face of imminent peril, a towering testament to their unwavering spirit that reverberated through the nation and solidified in your mind the true meaning of steadfastness. As the war finally receded, replaced by an uneasy, fragile peace, you emerged from the crucible of conflict, a teenager Princess Margaret, no longer the carefree child who once danced through palace halls, her laughter echoing with abandon. Your body had grown taller, your features sharper, but it was your eyes, once alight with innocent mischief, that now held a deeper, more contemplative gaze as you looked out at the night sky, mercifully free from the piercing shriek of air raid sirens. The war had undoubtedly stolen your childhood, snatching away the carefree abandon of youth with merciless efficiency. Yet in its place it had forged an indomitable strength within you, a resilience tempered by fire, a diamond refined under immense pressure. This harrowing journey through the dark valleys of global conflict had prepared you, unknowingly, for the even greater, more personal battles that lay ahead in your life, a silent promise of future struggles, etched into the very core of your being. And so a quiet truth, a secret woven into the very fabric of your survival, reveals itself. The profound lessons of your early duty, etched into your soul by the smoke and tears of war, became the unwavering foundation upon which your extraordinary and often tragic life would be built.
The distant echoes of victory parades still lingered in the crisp May air of 1945, a faint scent of fireworks and freedom clinging to the very fabric of London. As the world exhaled a collective sigh of relief, Britain vibrated with the intoxicating euphoria of peace. Do you remember the sheer, unadulterated joy that surged through the streets on VE Day, Margaret? A cacophony of relief and celebration that vibrated through your very bones. You and Elizabeth, Two young princesses barely out of the shadow of war were swept up in the tide of cheering crowds outside Buckingham Palace, tasting a liberation that felt both national and intensely personal. The roar of the multitudes was a powerful symphony, a joyous chaos of church bells pealing, impromptu street music, and thousands of voices singing in unison, each face a testament to shared survival, illuminated by the haphazard glow of street lamps and celebratory bonfires. You pressed against the throng, the rare, thrilling anonymity surrounding you, reveling in the earthy smells of cheap beer, cigarettes, and damp wool, so different from the sterile palace air. Did you feel it, the sweet, heady taste of genuine, unbridled freedom, a flavor so potent, so vibrant, a sharp contrast to the rationed existence you'd known for years in the cold confines of Windsor's bunker? This burgeoning sense of personal liberation, distinct from the nation's collective triumph, was almost dizzying in its promise. Yet even as you felt the exhilarating rush of that moment, a flicker of foreboding, a tiny crack in the veneer of peace, subtly hinted at the personal storm gathering just beyond the horizon, a whirlwind born not of war, but of the heart. Into this nascent era of peace he walked, Group Captain Peter Townsend. He wasn't a shadowy figure, but a man forged in the crucible of aerial combat, his uniform adorned with the ribbons of a true war hero, appointed equerry to King George VI in 1944. Do you recall the very first time your eyes fell upon him, in the hushed elegance of a palace drawing room, or perhaps in a quiet corridor at Windsor, a man so utterly different from the polite, unassuming young officers who frequented court functions? He was older, seasoned, his quiet demeanor masking the thunder of countless dogfights, his clear blue eyes carrying the profound weight of experience and a subtle melancholy. His uniform, though impeccable, seemed to wear him with a comfortable authority, a stark contrast to the stiff, eager youth you were accustomed to. He possessed a profound stillness, a depth that drew your curious, restless eye, a quiet force in a world of polished surfaces and superficial smiles. He was an anomaly, a fragment of the raw, dangerous outside world now brought into the pristine, controlled confines of the palace, a seasoned wolf among domesticated lambs, his presence a quiet challenge to the decorum. Their connection, at first a subtle undercurrent, began to deepen within the hushed grandeur of Windsor Castle, unfolding through endless conversations. He sought you out, not with the superficial pleasantries of courtiers, but with genuine curiosity, his questions peeling back the layers of your carefully constructed royal persona. You'd find yourselves in the vast, echoing library, the scent of aged leather and dust motes dancing in the sunlight, or tucked away in a quiet corner of a drawing room after dinner, his voice low, almost conspiratorial. He spoke of the vast skies he'd conquered, of courage and fear, of the world beyond gilded walls, and he truly listened, intently, with unwavering focus, to your vibrant artistic soul, your sharp wit, your sometimes rebellious spirit. Do you recall the profound stillness that would settle between you, as if the very air held its breath, as he truly absorbed your thoughts, your quirks, your deepest anxieties, without judgment? He saw beyond the princess, beyond the sister of the air. He saw you, the complex, spirited woman, aching for understanding, for a genuine connection. It was an intimacy you hadn't known was possible,
a profound validation that transcended your royal identity, a rare and precious sanctuary in the gilded labyrinth of your life.
This burgeoning affection, a fragile bloom in the rigid architecture of the palace, grew in stolen glances and hushed whispers, a clandestine dance performed under the very noses of unsuspecting guards and dutiful staff. Can you recall the electric thrill of those secret moments? A hand brushing yours accidentally as he passed a document? The fleeting warmth of his skin? A spark that traveled up your arm like a forgotten current? Or a shared smile that spoke volumes across a crowded drawing room? A silent conversation understood only by you two, your heart quickening at the barest hint of his presence. Your pulse would pound a frantic rhythm against your ribs, a drumbeat of delicious terror whenever he was near, the constant, exhilarating danger of being discovered. What began as the admiration of a spirited young woman for an older, experienced man, a war hero, subtly, irrevocably blossomed into a deep, consuming love. It defied the rigid expectations of age, of status, of everything your world dictated. Only the ancient stones of the castle, silent witnesses to centuries of royal drama, knew the hushed confessions, the unspoken promises that were etched not in formal decrees, but in the beating hearts of two souls defying the very air they breathed, a thrilling, dangerous secret. He saw you, truly saw you, for the first time in a way no one else, not even your beloved Elizabeth or your adoring parents, had ever fully managed. Their love was profound, yes, but inevitably it was conditioned by the expectations of your royal lineage, the golden chains of duty. Townsend, however, perceived the free spirit that resided within you, not as a flaw to be managed or curbed, but as a dazzling light to be cherished. Do you remember the sheer relief, the profound lightness you felt when he celebrated your dazzling wit, laughed at your sometimes scandalous jokes, and encouraged your artistic flair, even when others might have found it undignified for a princess? He recognized your independence as strength, your defiance as courage. This was a love that asked nothing of your title, only of your true self. Did you, for the first time, feel utterly, completely accepted, cherished for your whole complex self, not merely for the crown you wore or the role you were expected to play? It was a revelation, a profound sense of belonging that warmed you from the inside out, providing a solace, an unwavering mirror to your true self in a world that often demanded you shrink to fit its rigid molds, a sanctuary for your authentic soul. Their bond deepened, cultivated in the intimate spaces of official engagements that ironically offered precious opportunities for escape. As Townsend often accompanied you on royal duties, visits to hospitals, opening ceremonies for new public works, or dignitary receptions, these journeys became unexpected havens. Can you feel the exhilarating sense of freedom that came with those shared car rides, the quiet hum of the engine as a backdrop to your whispered conversations, far from the prying eyes and rigid protocols of the palace? The plush leather seats of the royal limousine became a mobile sanctuary, a bubble of privacy where you could shed your royal skin, if only for an hour. You discussed everything, from the trivial details of the day to your deepest hopes and fears. He shared raw, personal anecdotes from his war years, stories of heroism and loss that no official biography would ever reveal. And in return, you confided your own unspoken frustrations and dreams. These excursions transformed from mere obligations into cherished moments of pure, unfiltered connection. Each mile a step closer to an undeniable truth, transforming duty into a secret, intoxicating pleasure, a dangerous but irresistible dance on the edges of forbidden desire. The quiet admiration, the deep understanding, the shared moments of escape all coalesced into an undeniable truth that resonated deep within your heart. Do you remember the precise moment, Margaret, when the realization, warm and terrifying, washed over you? You were irrevocably, completely, utterly in love with Peter Townsend. It wasn't a gentle awakening, no soft dawning of affection. It was a powerful, undeniable force, a visceral pull that made your blood sing and your mind reel. It might have been a fleeting touch of his hand as he helped you from a car, a particular cadence in his voice, or a shared glance across a crowded room where his blue eyes seemed to pierce straight through to your soul. It was as if his gaze, when it met yours, became a blinding flash of lightning, tearing through the placid, predictable sky of your royal existence, exposing a landscape of raw, untamed emotion you hadn't known existed. Your heart pounded against your ribs, a frantic hummingbird trapped in your chest, your breath caught in your throat. This was a feeling so potent, so undeniable, that it defied all logic, all rules, all the polite constraints that had governed your entire life. It was a love that felt both destined and utterly forbidden, a beautiful, dangerous wildfire igniting within your soul, threatening to consume everything. Yet, even as this profound love consumed you, a dark, inescapable shadow loomed large, the undeniable fact of Peter Townsend's divorce. In the eyes of the Church of England, and indeed of much of conservative British society, he was a tainted figure, his past a permanent stain that rendered him an impossible match for a princess, especially one so close to the throne. Can you still feel the chilling weight of that reality? The knowledge that this pure, overwhelming love was, by definition, scandalous, a direct affront to every sacred tradition you were born to uphold? You and Townsend spoke of it quietly, grimly, often in hushed tones after everyone else had retired, acknowledging the formidable, almost insurmountable barrier his marital status presented. He carried a weary resignation in his eyes, knowing the world's judgment, yet his love for you remained unwavering. You, however, felt a growing frustration, an indignant anger at the archaic rules that sought to shackle your heart. The very air around you seemed to thicken with unspoken judgment, a phantom chorus of disapproval, fueled by overheard whispers from palace staff and veiled warnings from older courtiers, a silent, suffocating prelude to the public storm that awaited. Despite the colossal, seemingly insurmountable obstacles, your love for Peter Townsend became an unyielding force, pushing you towards an audacious, almost revolutionary decision to openly declare your feelings and your intention to marry him. This was more than a personal choice. It was an act of profound defiance, a thunderclap of rebellion against the ancient, unbending edifice of the monarchy and the suffocating strictures of society. Nights were spent wrestling with the agonizing choice, torn between the immutable demands of duty and the intoxicating pull of an undeniable love. It wasn't a spontaneous whim, but a desperate, agonizing conclusion. You could not live without him. This decision was a direct challenge to the very institution that defined your existence, a willingness to risk everything: your royal title, your civil list allowance, your royal duties, your hard-won reputation, even your relationship with your beloved family, for the sake of true love. Did you feel the intoxicating rush of that audacity? The terrifying freedom of standing on the precipice, ready to leap, to face the inevitable storm of public and royal outrage? This was your roar, Margaret, a declaration that reverberated not through Westminster Abbey, but through the deepest chambers of your own defiant soul. A desperate gamble for happiness, come may what. And so we return to that fateful moment, a stark and public declaration disguised as a casual gesture. Do you remember the coronation of Queen Elizabeth II in 1953, the grand, solemn spectacle that marked your sister's ascension to the throne, a day meant for duty, not desire? The air in Westminster Abbey was thick with the heavy, sweet scent of incense, the echoing Latin prayers of centuries past, and the hushed reverence of thousands, the very atmosphere humming with tradition. You were seated near Peter Townsend, a forbidden closeness in the heart of the sacred. In a brief, charged moment, caught by a keen-eyed journalist, you were seen, almost unconsciously, reaching out, your gloved hand extending and flicking a piece of lint from Peter Townsend's uniform. It was an intimate gesture, so subtle, so profoundly personal, yet displayed for the entire world to interpret. In that single fleeting touch, the delicate brush of fabric against your fingers, the momentary contact of your worlds, amidst the echoing hymns and the overwhelming weight of duty, you sent a silent yet powerful message. It was not a mere accidental touch. It was an unwitting yet powerful declaration of your shared affection. A tiny, defiant spark thrown into the powder keg of royal tradition, igniting a controversy that would forever alter the course of your life. A brazen act of love that would determine the profound sorrow of your next journey, a firestorm on the horizon. The triumphant peal of the Abbey bells proclaiming Queen Elizabeth II's ascension was supposed to be a symphony of unbroken joy, a majestic herald of a new, bright reign. Yet to you, Princess Margaret, their resounding glory was irrevocably entwined with the insidious hum of whispers, the cold, dissecting gaze of 1,000 eyes, all fixed on you and Peter Townsend. The fleeting, unconscious gesture, the flick of lint from his uniform, had been a spark, and the coronation a powder keg. Did you feel it, Margaret, the sudden, oppressive weight of the spotlight shifting, its searing beam no longer on your sister, but on the scandalous, undeniable truth simmering between you two? It was the precise, agonizing moment when the blinding light of royal pageantry collided with the shadowy depths of scandal, a silent yet deafening explosion that shattered your fragile peace, a chilling overture to the storm that was about to consume your very existence. The air in the hushed wooden-paneled meeting rooms of Buckingham Palace and 10 Downing Street crackled with a tension thicker than the London fog, a palpable dread that clung to every polished surface. Inside those tightly sealed chambers, the most powerful men in Britain, Winston Churchill, his jaws set in grim determination, puffing on his cigar as if to conjure wisdom; the formidable Archbishop of Canterbury, his face a mask of ecclesiastical disapproval, his pronouncements like cold stone, and a phalanx of seasoned royal advisers, their expressions unyielding, their words sharp as daggers, gathered to dissect, condemn, and ultimately dismantle your love. Do you hear it, Margaret, the ghostly echo of the past, the chilling whisper of your uncle, King Edward VIII's abdication, reverberating like a death knell in every hushed, tense deliberation within those tightly sealed rooms? A haunting melody of sacrifice. That infamous precedent, a jagged scar on the very soul of the monarchy, hung heavy in the air, transforming your personal love story into a profound constitutional crisis. Your fate was being decided by men who spoke not of love, but of duty, of lineage, of the unshakable bedrock of the crown, a cold, calculating calculus that left no room for the beating of a human heart, only for the relentless ticking of the royal clock. The weight of this impossible conflict fell heaviest on your sister, Queen Elizabeth II. Her gentle eyes, usually filled with a quiet strength, now held a deep, unresolvable anguish, like distant storm clouds gathering on a serene horizon. On one side stood the fierce, protective love of a sister, a childhood bond forged in wartime bunkers and whispered secrets, yearning for your happiness, for your freedom to choose. On the other lay the crushing, inviolable responsibility of her crown, head of the Church of England, supreme defender of royal tradition, symbol of a nation's stability. Can you feel it, Margaret, the agonizing stretch of loyalty tearing at her very being, the cold, heavy hand of destiny pressing down on both your shoulders, binding you to separate, painful paths, like two parallel tracks destined never to meet? You pleaded, perhaps tearfully, in hushed, desperate conversations in her private chambers, the scent of her familiar perfume, a fleeting comfort, begging for her understanding, for her support, for a way, any way, to make this impossible love possible. But her answers, delivered with a heartbreaking tremor in her voice, spoke of a duty that superseded all else, a burden so immense it left her utterly powerless to protect you from the inevitable. Her tears, mirroring your own, were a silent testament to the tragic impasse, a queen's sorrow locked in an unbreakable cage of divine right, her hands tied by the very crown she wore. Outside the palace walls, the British and international press, like a ravenous beast uncaged, pounced on your story. It was a scandal made for their hungry presses, a feast for the insatiable public eye. Blaring headlines screamed across newspaper stands. Princess in love with divorced man. Royal romance shocks nation. The crown or the heart. Lurid photos, often unflattering, of you and Peter were splashed across front pages, accompanied by speculative articles and opinion polls dissecting your every move, your every breath, each word a tiny venomous dart. Can you recall the suffocating sensation of being stripped bare, every gesture, every whispered word, every private emotion twisted, exaggerated, and relentlessly judged by millions of unseen eyes, like a specimen under a microscope? You had become the reluctant star of a grand, inescapable tragedy, your private pain played out on the public stage for all the world to consume, a helpless fly caught in the sticky, unrelenting web of public scrutiny, its threads tightening with every passing hour.
And then there was Peter Townsend, the man at the epicenter of this royal maelstrom. A celebrated group captain, a hero of the skies, his bravery undeniable, his medals gleaming. Yet now, in the rigid confines of royal society, he was reduced to a singular, damning label: a divorced man. The very achievement that had made him a hero now condemned him in the eyes of the establishment, a cruel irony, a medal of valor tarnished by a ring of separation, a bitter twist of fate. Do you remember the quiet dignity with which he bore the relentless public scrutiny, the agonizing injustice of being vilified for a past he could not change, his shoulders squared against an invisible storm? You saw the subtle lines of hurt etched around his eyes, the suppressed frustration in his jaw, the way he would clench his fists when he thought no one was looking. He was helpless, caught in a system that cared little for his wartime heroism or his genuine affection for you. The agonizing diplomatic posting to Brussels, a brutal, calculated move by the government, struck you like a physical blow, a punch to the gut that left you breathless. Did you feel it, Margaret, the burning injustice, the white-hot fury that surged through you, knowing your love was being sacrificed on the altar of archaic tradition, a sacrificial lamb for an unforgiving institution? Your anger was raw, unfiltered, a desperate guttural cry against the insurmountable forces arrayed against you. You tried to resist, to fight, to claw back a shred of control over your own destiny, to break free from the invisible chains, but it was futile. You were a caged bird, beating its wings against solid, unyielding bars, your valiant struggles ultimately rendered impotent before the crushing weight of royal duty and political expediency. The reality of his impending absence was a physical ache, a gaping wound opening in your chest, a crushing finality that left you breathless and utterly, irrevocably helpless, a soul adrift in a sea of despair. After Peter's agonizing departure, the sprawling, ornate palace transformed into a mausoleum of silence, each gilded corridor echoing your profound loneliness, a vast, empty tomb for your shattered dreams. Long, desolate nights stretched before you, filled with the ghosts of shared laughter and whispered promises, each memory a fresh torment. Your mind replayed every cherished moment, every conversation, every touch, a tormenting loop, a cruel reel of what might have been. Hope, fragile and desperate, clung to your impending 25th birthday, when you would, theoretically, be free to make your own choice without direct royal permission. This distant milestone became your North Star, a beacon in the suffocating darkness, a flickering candle in a vast, empty room. Can you feel it, Margaret, the relentless gnawing of hope and despair, the agonizing tug of war between heart and duty, slowly, inexorably eroding your very soul with each passing day, like waves relentlessly pounding against a cliff face, carving away at your spirit? Secret letters, smuggled through trusted hands and coded phone calls across continents, became your lifeline, fragile threads connecting you to the man who held your heart,
a lifeline stretched taut across an ocean of separation. This agonizing waiting game, this silent struggle, was a slow, torturous decay of your spirit, a prolonged sentence of emotional solitary confinement, a living death. Then came the inevitable. The preparation for the public announcement in 1955 was shrouded in a palpable, terrifying stillness. You stood in a solemn room, perhaps in the Lord Chamberlain's office at Buckingham Palace, the air thick with the unspoken gravity of the moment, the hushed whispers of staff like the rustle of funeral shrouds. Your composure, refined over years of royal training, was a brittle veneer, barely containing the immense, unimaginable pain that clawed at your insides, a volcano of grief threatening to erupt. A prepared statement lay before you, each meticulously chosen word a nail in the coffin of your love, a final crushing blow. When you finally read it, your voice, though steady, held a faint tremor, the heavy silence of the room amplifying every syllable. The world listened as you publicly declared your decision to renounce your marriage plans with Peter Townsend, choosing duty to the crown over personal happiness. It was not a choice, they declared, but a judgment, an execution of the purest desires of your heart, a public renunciation of your truest self. You were reading your own death sentence, not of body, but of spirit. A sacrifice laid bare for the nation to witness, a chilling tableau of self-immolation, a public crucifixion of your very soul.
The immediate aftermath of that announcement was a desolate emptiness, a profound silence that settled deep within your bones, a cold, heavy blanket of despair. You had made the right decision, the responsible choice for the crown, for the nation, for your sister. But for you, it was the wrong one, a catastrophic loss. Did you feel it? The cold, sharp blade of sacrifice, leaving a permanent, jagged scar on the very fabric of your soul? A wound that would never truly close, no matter how many years passed? A phantom ache that would haunt your every breath? This profound public heartbreak, this forced renunciation of your greatest love, defined you. It shaped the woman you would become, a rebellious spirit perpetually constrained, a soul forever yearning for a freedom denied, forever bound by the golden, unbreakable chains of the crown. It was a raw, unhealing wound, a constant, phantom ache that would haunt your steps for the rest of your days, a silent testament to a love unlived. As night fell, Buckingham Palace stood majestic against the darkening sky, its lights gleaming from countless windows, an imposing fortress of power and tradition. But for you, it was now a cold, opulent cage, its grand halls echoing with the emptiness of your sacrifice, a gilded prison for a broken heart. Perhaps you would sit alone in a vast, ornate room by a tall window, gazing into the impenetrable darkness, the silence of the palace echoing your internal desolation. The city hummed distantly, a life lived beyond the palace gates, a life you yearned for but could never truly grasp.
Only the ancient walls of the palace, those silent, unyielding sentinels, truly knew the torrent of silent tears that finally fell, scalding trails on your cheeks, echoing the death of a love too grand, too passionate, too human for a royal life. This poignant image of solitude and sacrifice would linger, a haunting tableau of duty's cruel triumph, foreshadowing the complex, often tragic journey of a princess forever marked by a love unlived, a soul forever yearning for what could not be. The public expected a princess draped in sorrow, a figure shrouded in the black of heartbreak after the brutal renunciation of her first great love. But you, Princess Margaret, emerged from the ashes of that sacrifice not as a weeping widow, but as a phoenix, ablaze with a new, audacious fire. You burst back onto the public stage not in somber mourning, but in a dazzling display of vibrant colors, your stride more confident, your gaze more piercing. Did you feel it, Margaret? The collective gasp of surprise, the sudden shift from pity to breathless admiration, a hungry gaze that fed your wounded pride but left your soul untouched. It was a spectacular metamorphosis, from a princess scarred by duty to a resplendent icon of fashion, captivating the press and the public alike with your undeniable allure. This was a rebirth, yes, but a carefully curated one. A brilliant performance for an audience of millions, masking the true tragedy within. You became the unwitting, yet enthusiastic, ambassador of a revolutionary elegance, championing Christian Dior's new look with a passion that bordered on fierce defiance. You embraced the nipped waists that accentuated your slender frame, the dramatically full skirts that swirled around you like a dream, the elegant sculptural hats that framed your captivating face. Each gown was a masterpiece of silk, satin, and intricate embroidery, a luxurious armor. Do you remember the exquisite torture of those countless fittings, the pins pricking your skin, the scent of expensive fabric and French perfume filling the air, as you transformed yourself into an untouchable ideal? Every public appearance became your personal catwalk, a grand, theatrical entrance that left fashion editors scrambling to capture your every move. They said that every step you took was a declaration, a bold challenge to the rigid, old-fashioned rules that had once confined you, a whispered rebellion against the very institution that had broken your heart. Fashion was no longer just clothing. It was a powerful statement, a magnificent shield against the world's judgment. The media's infatuation was relentless, a blinding, insistent pursuit. The paparazzi seemed to materialize from thin air, their cameras clicking like 1,000 hungry insects, each flash a tiny explosion of light searing your retinas. Every single photograph of you, whether stepping out of a limousine or accepting a bouquet, was deemed worthy of front-page news, splashed across glossy magazine covers. The headlines screamed your praises. Princess Margaret, royal-style queen, Britain's most glamorous royal, a vision of elegance. Do you feel it, Margaret? That dazzling, insistent flash of light? Could it truly conceal the jagged scar within your heart? Or did it merely illuminate the profound solitude hidden beneath the glittering veneer, like a crack in a perfectly painted canvas? The adulation, the compliments, the endless public fascination, they offered fleeting moments of validation, a balm to your wounded ego. Yet beneath the clamor of applause and the flutter of flashbulbs, a cold, persistent emptiness gnawed at you, a silent, aching void that no amount of external glory could ever fill. Your royal calendar, once merely full, now swelled to an overwhelming, relentless beast. With your beloved father, King George VI, in declining health, and your sister, Queen Elizabeth II, ruly burdened with the immense responsibilities of the throne and motherhood, you stepped into the breach. You became the glamorous, dynamic face of the younger monarchy, a vibrant presence sent to charm crowds and open new doors, particularly on international tours. Can you recall the frantic pace, the endless round of handshakes and polite smiles, the forced enthusiasm you had to muster for each dedication, each carefully orchestrated walkabout? You were the embodiment of youthful energy, a dazzling distraction from the weight of the crown. Yet behind the flawless public performance, what hidden weariness did you carry? What silent scream for respite from the relentless demands? The duties became a new kind of prison, but also a potent anodyne, a frantic escape from the quiet terror of your own thoughts, a way to numb the lingering pain that pulsed beneath your perfectly poised smile.
But the show always ended. As the last flashbulb faded and the roar of the crowds became a distant hum, you would retreat to the vast, echoing silence of your private apartments. The rustle of silk as you shed the exquisite gown, the cool cream on your face as you wiped away the last traces of makeup, revealed not the queen of style, but a woman profoundly alone. The scent of stale perfume lingered in the air, a ghost of the glamour just past. Did you not stand before the mirror, Margaret, after the last sequin was removed and the final curtain fell on your performance, a stranger to yourself, haunted by the ghost of a love denied, its spectral embrace more real than any recent triumph? In those stark, unadorned moments, the carefully constructed facade crumbled, leaving you to confront the raw, lingering ache of a lost love, the deep, pervasive emptiness that no amount of public adulation could ever fill. To fill that void, you plunged headfirst into the vibrant, intoxicating maelstrom of London's nightlife. The exclusive clubs became your sanctuaries, their smoky haze and pulsating jazz music a potent antidote to the palace's suffocating quiet. Do you remember the intoxicating lure of those late nights, the clinking of ice in crystal glasses, the insistent rhythm of the music that drowned out the whispers of your own sorrow? You danced until dawn, flirted with charming strangers, and reveled in the endless flow of expensive cocktails, each sip a temporary reprieve from the crushing reality. It was a desperate, hedonistic pursuit, a frantic attempt to outrun the demons that haunted you. These were not gatherings of genuine joy, but frantic, often hollow attempts to forget, to numb the profound sorrow and gnawing emptiness within your soul. Only the pulsating beat of the jazz band and the cool, bitter sting of a strong cocktail truly knew the secrets you buried deep within your guarded heart, secrets of despair and longing, hidden beneath the veneer of wild abandon. In your escape, you found an unexpected kinship with the unconventional, free-spirited figures of the artistic world.
Actors like Danny Kaye, witty playwrights like Noel Coward, musicians and writers became your new companions, their bohemian world a stark contrast to the stiff formality of your own. Can you recall the relief, the liberation you felt in their company, where your sharp wit was genuinely appreciated, your artistic sensibilities understood, and your rebellious streak was celebrated, not judged? They were outsiders, unfeathered by the rigid protocols of the aristocracy, living lives driven by passion and expression, rather than lineage. You sought refuge in their bohemian world, drawn to the raw authenticity of their souls. A world where you could, if only for a few stolen hours, be simply Margaret, a woman of wit and talent, not a princess burdened by an impossible crown. They offered a different kind of validation, a mirror that reflected back not the duty-bound royal, but the spirited artist you truly were.
Yet, even amidst the adoration and the bohemian liberation, dissenting voices lingered, sharp as shards of glass. Some conservative elements within the aristocracy, steeped in outdated notions of propriety, viewed your new persona with disdain. Figures like Chips Channon, the diarist, famously observed a Marie Antoinette whiff about you, a cutting remark that implied extravagance, moral decay, and a dangerous disconnect from traditional royal decorum. Did you feel their cold disdain, Margaret? The judgmental gazes radiating from those who sought to confine you to the past, blind to the pain that fueled your rebellion, oblivious to the fact that your glittering life was a direct consequence of their own rigid rules. Their criticism, a muted counterpoint to the public's adulation, highlighted the persistent societal judgment, a dark undercurrent beneath the glittering surface of your new life. Ultimately, your transformation into a style icon, a queen of style, was a magnificent, tragic masterpiece. It was a meticulously crafted facade, a glittering armor forged not in steel but in silk and diamonds, designed to perfectly conceal the raw, exposed nerves of your inner turmoil. It was a desperate attempt to prove your worth, to reclaim a sense of agency after the devastating rejection of your love, a silent scream of defiance aimed at the system that had broken you. This dazzling halo of fame was a salvation, offering fleeting moments of validation, a temporary distraction from the gnawing pain, yet it was also a cunning trap, binding you even more tightly to a life that wasn't truly your own, a gilded cage built of your own making. You were a prisoner of your image, a captivating illusion that offered no genuine warmth. As the late hours stretched into dawn, you would find yourself alone in your grand chamber, the last vestiges of the party shed, looking into the cold, unforgiving glass of your mirror. The flawless makeup, the perfectly coiffed hair, the shimmering gown laid aside, all gone. All that remained was your reflection, your own weary eyes staring back. And in those eyes, despite the superficial allure, despite the carefully constructed glamour, there was an unmistakable glimmer of profound sadness, a deep-seated melancholy that no amount of external brilliance could ever eclipse. The pain of your first love, the echo of a forbidden vow, still lingered, a silent, corrosive scar within your fragile heart, no Dior gown capable of concealing its profound, unyielding ache. This wound, unseen by the world, was a constant companion, a whisper from your unlived life,
foreshadowing the complex, often tragic journey of a princess forever marked by a love unfulfilled, forever searching for a happiness that remained just beyond her grasp. The opulent silence of Buckingham Palace was a suffocating shroud, a stark contrast to the throbbing pulse of London's vibrant nights. You, Princess Margaret, a phoenix rising from the ashes of a love denied, found yourself drawn to the illicit promise of the city, a magnetic pole that resonated with the untamed spirit within you. Donning daring gowns that whispered defiance with every rustle, you would slip past the watchful eyes of courtiers and guards, your heart hammering with the mixture of thrill and desperation. Do you feel it, Margaret? The intoxicating lure of the city's underbelly, the magnetic pull of neon signs painting the wet streets, the raw, visceral beat of jazz music spilling from dimly lit clubs, a siren song beckoning you away from the cold, echoing silence of your royal prison. This was your escape, your sanctuary, a world where the rigid strictures of royalty melted away under the intoxicating spell of freedom, a desperate plunge into the vibrant chaos you so desperately craved. Each night became a furious, exhilarating sprint towards oblivion. You plunged headfirst into the swirling vortex of London's high society nightlife, dancing until the early hours in exclusive clubs, the air thick with cigarette smoke and expensive perfume. The clinking of crystal glasses, the insistent rhythm of the jazz band, the blur of faces around you, all served as a potent temporary anesthetic. You would laugh a little too loudly, drink a little too freely, desperate to outrun the phantom ache that clung to your soul like a second skin after the Peter Townsend debacle. This wasn't merely entertainment. It was a frantic, almost ritualistic attempt to fill the gaping void within your heart, to silence the incessant whispers of regret and loneliness. Can you feel the desperate chase for oblivion, Margaret? Each laugh a little louder, each drink a little stronger, in a futile attempt to silence the gnawing ache in your soul, to drown out the echo of a love unlived. It was a fleeting, exhilarating freedom, dissolving with the first light of dawn, leaving only the bitter taste of stale champagne and lingering emptiness.
Your every nocturnal escapade became grist for the merciless mill of the tabloid press. Like vultures circling their prey, the paparazzi seemed to materialize from the very shadows, their cameras clicking like 1,000 hungry insects, each flash a tiny explosion of light searing your retinas. Every photograph of you stumbling from a club, caught in a passionate embrace, or simply looking disheveled at dawn, became a sensational headline. Party Princess, Wild Royal, Margaret's latest fling. Do you hear it, Margaret? The insidious, whispering chorus of judgment, the venomous criticism aimed at a princess who dared to live a life untamed, a life beyond their rigid comprehension, a public condemnation echoing in every corner of your gilded world. You were stripped bare, your private life dissected, magnified, and relentlessly judged by millions of unseen eyes, each word a tiny poisoned dart. The loss of any semblance of privacy was absolute, a chilling reminder that even in rebellion you remained a spectacle, a helpless fly caught in the sticky, unrelenting web of public scrutiny. In your desperate quest for connection, you gravitated towards the unconventional, finding solace in relationships that defied royal norms. You sought out the bohemian artists, the charismatic actors, the soulful musicians who frequented the very clubs you now called home. Figures like the irrepressible Danny Kaye or the witty Noel Coward became your confidants, their worlds a stark contrast to the stifling formality of your own.
These were not merely fleeting affairs, but a frantic search for understanding, for someone who could see past the princess and connect with the raw, rebellious spirit within you. Do you recall the relief of being truly seen, of finding acceptance among those who valued your sharp wit, your artistic sensibilities, your very defiance, rather than judging them through the lens of royal protocol? They offered a different kind of validation, a mirror that reflected back not the duty-bound royal, but the spirited, complex artist you truly were, a welcome respite from the suffocating expectations of your birth. Yet even amidst the adoration and the bohemian liberation, dissenting voices lingered, sharp as shards of glass. Some conservative elements within the aristocracy, steeped in outdated notions of propriety, viewed your new persona with disdain. Figures like Chips Channon, the diarist, famously observed a Marie Antoinette whiff about you, a cutting remark that implied extravagance, moral decay, and a dangerous disconnect from traditional royal decorum. Did you feel their cold disdain, Margaret? The judgmental gazes radiating from those who clung to their rigid notions of propriety, condemning your every breath of freedom, blind to the pain that fueled your rebellion, oblivious to the fact that your glittering life was a direct consequence of their own rigid rules. This was the judgment of your own class, those who had once been your peers now viewing you as an outcast, a tarnished jewel in the crown. This constant, subtle condemnation deepened your sense of isolation, pushing you further into the arms of your new unconventional circle, a bitter reminder that even among your own kind, you were fundamentally alone.
The royal family, burdened by their own immense responsibilities, seemed to adopt a weary, almost resigned acceptance of your increasingly rebellious path. Your beloved father, King George VI, had passed away years earlier, leaving Queen Elizabeth II as a young monarch, already overwhelmed by the immense weight of the crown and the joys and demands of motherhood, with young Prince Charles and Princess Anne. Their concern for you, while undoubtedly present, was muted by their pressing duties. Was it a reluctant acceptance, Margaret? A silent concession to your will? Or a profound, agonizing form of abandonment, as they implicitly allowed you to carve your own self-destructive path, too preoccupied to truly intervene? This unspoken permission was not support. It was a painful form of detachment, a quiet casting adrift. You felt increasingly misunderstood, unmoored, subtly pushed to the margins of the royal orbit. A princess with no clear role, no defined purpose beyond her own restless heart. But this lifestyle was more than mere hedonism or self-indulgence. It was a desperate, visceral cry, a defiant roar against the invisible chains that had sought to define your entire existence. This was your assertion, raw and unyielding, of your right to choose, to live, to breathe on your own terms, even if it meant sacrificing your reputation, your pristine image, everything the monarchy held dear. This was not merely wanton indulgence. It was a desperate, guttural cry, a defiant act of rebellion against an invisible chains that had sought to define your entire existence, a desperate, solitary war waged against a system that had denied you your greatest love. You understood the price you were paying, the damage to your public image, the quiet disapproval of your family. But it felt necessary, an undeniable assertion of your own sovereignty over your spirit, a reclamation of self in the aftermath of profound loss. Yet beneath the vibrant silks and the forced laughter, Beneath the glittering veneer of glamour and the defiant bravado, you carried the ghost of a love lost. The pain from Peter Townsend's forced departure was still a raw, open wound, a corrosive ache that stubbornly refused to heal, a constant, phantom limb of sorrow. The endless parties, the cocktails, the fleeting romances, they were all just temporary anesthetics, numbing agents that dulled the sharp edges of your despair for a few precious hours. But when the music faded and the laughter died, the silence would return, a vast, echoing emptiness that no amount of distraction could ever truly fill. Beneath the vibrant silks and the forced laughter, did you not carry the ghost of a love lost, a silent scream trapped within the gilded cage of your own making, a heart bleeding silently? The more you sought to escape, the deeper the void seemed to grow, fueling a relentless, agonizing cycle of pleasure and pain. The paparazzi, ever present, were a constant, invasive threat. They shadowed your every move, their lenses like predatory eyes, hungrily seeking to capture a moment of weakness, a hint of scandal. Do you recall the white-hot fury, the burning invasion, the indignity of being caught unawares, your most private moments laid bare, stolen by an insatiable public eye that knew no bounds, that respected no privacy? Perhaps it was a photograph snapped while you were swimming in the crystalline waters off Capri, a rare moment of personal liberation, instantly transformed into public consumption. The click of the distant lens, the flash of realization, your privacy, once sacrosanct, utterly eroded, leaving you exposed and vulnerable, yet fueling your defiance even further. This constant surveillance was a chilling reminder that even in your rebellion, you were never truly free, a prisoner in plain sight, trapped by the very notoriety you had inadvertently cultivated. And then the night would end. The first rays of dawn, cold and unforgiving, would pierce through the ornate windows of your royal chambers, brutally illuminating the true cost etched onto your face: exhaustion, a hollow sadness, the faint lingering scent of last night's desperation. You would return to the quiet, empty palace, its grandeur now feeling oppressive, its vast halls amplifying your solitude. Do you remember those mornings, Margaret, when the glamour of the night seemed to peel away with the rising sun, revealing the weary eyes, the dark circles, the fragile facade that was you? The quiet reflection in the mirror offered no solace, only the stark reality of your choices, the profound consequences of a life lived on the edge, pushing boundaries, always searching, always running. This solitary morning light was a moment of brutal honesty, confronting you with the echoes of lost love and a future stretching before you, shrouded in uncertainty. A poignant tableau of a soul adrift, still yearning for a mooring it could never truly find. After the hollow glitz of the nightclubs and the superficial charm of fleeting acquaintances, a different kind of spark ignited in your life, Princess Margaret, one that promised to banish the lingering chill of heartbreak. He was Antony Armstrong-Jones, a photographer, not a duke, not a lord, but a man who smelled of dark-room chemicals, tobacco, and an intoxicating, unconventional freedom. He moved with an artist's restless energy, his eyes sharp and discerning, seeing beyond the princess, straight to the tumultuous soul beneath. Did you feel it, Margaret, that exhilarating jolt, the sudden fierce spark igniting when two rebellious artistic souls, yearning for freedom, finally collided, a chemical reaction that promised a new kind of fire. He was everything the palace was not, earthy, witty, dangerous, and utterly captivating. The romance that bloomed between you and Antony was a whirlwind, a dizzying waltz of passion and clandestine encounters. He was not merely a lover. He became your confidant, your co-conspirator in rebellion. In stolen moments in his bohemian studio, amidst the clatter of cameras and the scent of developing fluid, you discovered a profound communion. He listened to your deepest pains, understood the invisible chains that bound you, saw the lingering scar left by Peter Townsend, and somehow, through his lens, he captured a defiant beauty in your vulnerability. Can you recall those stolen hours, Margaret? The intoxicating sensation of being truly seen, truly understood, as if his artistic eye had pierced through your royal facade to the wounded, longing soul beneath, recognizing a kindred spirit. Late-night conversations, fueled by shared cigarettes and whispered dreams, became the bedrock of a love so intense, so consuming, that it promised to rewrite your very destiny, a desperate, beautiful gamble against the weight of your past. When your engagement to Antony Armstrong-Jones was announced in 1960, the nation gasped. A princess marrying a commoner? It was an unprecedented breach of royal protocol, a seismic shockwave sent through the staid corridors of power. The public, weary of scandal, now watched with a mixture of shock and fervent hope, seeing in your union the promise of a modern monarchy, a fresh wind blowing through ancient halls. On your wedding day, the sun, bright and defiant, seemed to shine exclusively for you. Do you feel it, Margaret, the unbridled hope that flared within your heart on that wedding day? A joyous, almost defiant blaze, the day you truly believed you had finally escaped the rigid shackles of expectation and duty. This was not just a marriage, it was a revolution, a loud, clear declaration of your right to choose love, a bold new chapter that promised to be authored entirely by you. The early days of your marriage were a thrilling blur of intense passion and boundless creativity. You and Antony, now Lord Snowdon, lived a life less constrained by royal strictures, blending his bohemian artistry with your regal flair. Your London home, Kensington Palace Apartments 10, became a vibrant hub for artists, photographers, and writers, a stark contrast to the stuffy formality of other royal residences. But beneath the dazzling surface, the currents of conflict churned. Two fiercely independent, highly creative, and deeply passionate individuals inevitably clashed. His restless, free-spirited nature often grated against your ingrained royal expectations, your need for order. Did you not hear the whispers turn to shouts, Margaret? The passionate embraces transform into bitter silences as the fiery alchemy of your union began to curdle under the weight of clashing worlds and unyielding personalities? Their arguments were legendary, volcanic eruptions of temper and wit, interspersed with equally intense reconciliations, a volatile dance between two souls too alike, yet too different to find lasting peace. This untraditional royal marriage became a lightning rod for incessant scrutiny, a constant source of friction with the very institutions you belonged to. The tabloids, once captivated, now dissected every rumored quarrel, every unconventional outing. Whispers of disapproval emanated from the staid aristocratic circles, their polite smiles barely concealing their disdain for Antony's working-class background and your shared bohemian lifestyle. Even within the royal family there was an underlying discomfort, a quiet apprehension about the precedent you were setting. They said that your happiness, so defiant in its unconventionality, was a direct challenge to the very foundation of the monarchy, a dangerous precedent for future generations, a crack in the ancient facade. You felt constantly judged, constantly misunderstood, the weight of their expectations pressing down on your increasingly fragile union. A relentless, unseen pressure eroding the fragile edifice of your love.
Amidst the swirling storm of conflict, moments of profound joy did emerge. The arrival of your children, David in 1961 and Sarah in 1964, brought a precious, fleeting sense of domesticity and purpose. Their laughter, their innocence, offered a temporary balm to your troubled marriage, a new grounding presence in your tumultuous world. Did you not see, Margaret, how the precious arrival of your children, though bringing immense joy and moments of profound tenderness, also laid bare the widening fissures in your passionate yet volatile union, highlighting the very differences that now threaten to tear you apart? Parenthood, however, added new strains to an already volatile relationship. Both you and Antony were fiercely independent, accustomed to living on your own terms, and the demands of raising a family only amplified your individualistic streaks, revealing deeper incompatibilities, a bittersweet truth that added another layer of complexity to your already fraught existence. The marriage, born of passion, began to fester with the insidious poison of jealousy and temptation. Antony's artistic circles, vibrant and free, presented countless opportunities for indiscretion, his charming, restless nature drawing him to other women. And you, emotionally vulnerable, perpetually seeking love and validation, found solace and attention elsewhere. Rumors of affairs on both sides became tabloid fodder, whispered behind palace doors and splashed across newspaper pages. Can you taste the bitter tang of jealousy, Margaret? The corrosive acid of betrayal that slowly, agonizingly eroded the very foundations of your once passionate bond, leaving behind only resentment and suspicion. The trust, once so fiercely held, withered under the relentless onslaught of suspicion and doubt. This destructive cycle of infidelity and recrimination spiraled downwards, each act of betrayal deepening the chasm between you, a tragic mirror reflecting the broken promises of your past. The emotional distance between you and Antony grew to an unbearable chasm. Your grand apartment in Kensington Palace, once a hub of artistic energy and passionate arguments, became a cooled, silent mausoleum. Do you see it, Margaret? The cruel irony of living in a grand house, surrounded by beautiful objects, yet feeling more profoundly alone than you ever had before, as love withered into a desolate, barren landscape, leaving only the chilling echo of what once was. Dinners were eaten in strained silence, conversations reduced to polite, empty formalities. The profound loneliness settled deep within your soul, a suffocating blanket even when he was physically present. You were living under the same roof, sharing the same children, but emotionally you were miles apart,
strangers haunted by the ghost of a shared, passionate past. This growing isolation was a torment, a quiet agony more profound than any public scandal.
The inevitable finally arrived. The public announcement of your separation in 1976, followed by your divorce in 1978. It was a seismic shock, a thunderclap across the nation. Never before had a British monarch's child divorced in modern history, making your separation a truly monumental event, an unprecedented breach in the sacred walls of the monarchy, exposing your deepest vulnerabilities to a voracious world. The media frenzy was ferocious, a feeding frenzy of condemnation, speculation, and sensationalism. You were castigated by some for undermining the institution, pitied by others for your visible pain. Did you feel it, Margaret, the immense weight of public humiliation, the profound sense of failure, as the grand experiment of your love crumbled before the world, leaving you exposed and vulnerable once more? It was a bitter, devastating end to a love that had once promised revolution, a tragic coda to a desperate attempt at personal freedom. Left alone in the aftermath of the divorce, you carried the deep, indelible scars of this tumultuous union. The freedom you had so desperately sought felt hollow, a desolate victory that came at an immeasurable personal cost. This marriage, despite its passionate beginnings and its revolutionary spirit, ultimately failed to heal the deeper wounds within your soul, wounds inflicted long before Antony. This tumultuous marriage, a grand experiment that ended in public ruins, would forever etch itself onto your soul, leaving not just scars, but profound, unhealable fissures within a spirit already so deeply wounded, laying bare all the vulnerabilities you had tried so desperately to conceal. It exposed every raw nerve, every hidden insecurity, confirming that even the fiercest love could not mend the cracks in a foundation laid by duty and sacrifice. It was a testament to the fact that some secrets, some pains, were too deeply buried to ever truly escape, a haunting legacy etched deep beneath the layers of time and public scrutiny.
The cacophony of flashing cameras, the endless clink of cocktail glasses, the biting whispers of tabloid gossip, all faded into a distant, muffled hum the moment you stepped into the quiet sanctity of your private nursery. Here, amidst the gentle murmur of lullabies and the scent of baby powder, you, Princess Margaret, found a profound, undeniable truth in the innocent eyes of your children, David and Sarah. Away from the suffocating glare of public scrutiny, you were simply Mummy, a role you embraced with a fervent tenderness that few outside your most intimate circle ever witnessed. Did you not feel it, Margaret, the raw, visceral completeness, a warmth spreading through the deepest crevices of your scarred heart, knowing that the laughter of these children was a balm for all wounds, a healing force unlike any other? It was in these stolen, precious moments of shared stories and whispered secrets that you truly breathed, a stark, beautiful contrast to the dazzling yet emotionally desolate world you inhabited. You approached motherhood with a fierce, almost revolutionary dedication, determined to break the rigid mold of your own royal upbringing. Unlike the formal, often detached parenting you had received, you strived to be present, to listen, to guide. You encouraged their curiosity,
indulged their imaginative play, and engaged in deep, meaningful conversations, striving to provide the emotional warmth and understanding you had so often yearned for yourself. Did you not strive, Margaret, to mend the subtle fractures of your own royal childhood, offering your children the open ear and empathetic heart you so often yearned for yourself, building a bridge between generations of royal isolation? You nurtured their individual spirits, fostering their artistic leanings, seeing in their youthful exuberance a reflection of your own untamed soul. This was your legacy, a quiet revolution played out within the walls of Kensington Palace, shaping young lives with a love that transcended royal duty. Beyond the laughter of your children, another profound solace awaited you in the solitary hours, the resonant call of art. Your hands, so often adorned with glittering jewels for public display, found a different kind of grace gliding across the ivory keys of a grand piano. The melodic strains of classical compositions, sometimes soaring with joy, sometimes heavy with melancholic introspection, would echo through the vast, silent palace halls, a private symphony of your soul's deepest yearnings, a language only you truly understood. You would lose yourself for hours in the hushed reverence of art galleries, captivated by the vivid hues of a painting, the sculpted grace of a statue. This was not merely a hobby, but a fundamental part of your being, a spiritual anchor in a life often adrift. Your passion for the arts extended far beyond personal enjoyment. You became a tireless, dedicated patron. From the ethereal beauty of the ballet to the soaring drama of the opera, from the disciplined grace of dance companies to the intellectual thrill of theatrical productions, you embraced your role as a champion of British culture. Do you recall the vibrant energy, Margaret, of stepping backstage, engaging in animated discussions with a weary dancer, debating the nuances of a score with a composer, your quick wit and genuine enthusiasm winning over even the most cynical artists? You were not just a figurehead, you were a true collaborator, offering discerning insights, fierce loyalty, and undeniable glamour. Your presence, your genuine interest, and your unwavering support genuinely helped these organizations flourish, demonstrating that you were an indispensable part of the artistic community, a true muse and protector of the creative spirit. Within the rarefied air of your Kensington Palace apartment, you cultivated a vibrant circle of friends, a chosen family drawn not from the dusty annals of the peerage, but from the electric world of art and intellect. Playwrights, actors, musicians, designers, these were your people. Their conversations, sparkling with wit and irreverence, often stretched late into the night, filled with uproarious laughter, uninhibited by the rigid strictures of royal protocol. Do you see it, Margaret, this vibrant, unconventional facet of your being, the princess who found profound solace and unadulterated joy in the soaring notes of a symphony and the bold strokes of a painter's brush? A stark, beautiful contrast to the scandalous image the world had so cruelly painted. They appreciated your sharp intelligence, your discerning taste, and your rebellious spirit, seeing past the royal title to the complex woman beneath. In their company, you found a freedom, an authenticity that was denied to you in almost every aspect of your gilded life.
The stark dichotomy of your existence was a constant, almost jarring reality. The glossy tabloid headlines screamed of your scandalous parties, your glamorous fashion, your turbulent personal life, a carefully constructed narrative of the rebellious princess. Yet within the silent, hallowed walls of your private chambers, a different woman breathed. This was the devoted mother, patiently listening to a child's bedtime prayers, the contemplative artist lost in the complexities of a Chopin nocturne, The empathetic confidant, sharing quiet laughter with an unconventional friend. The world saw a glittering, rebellious socialite, but only within the silent walls of your private chambers did the empathetic mother, the contemplative artist, truly breathe, a stark, heartbreaking dichotomy that defined your very existence. The weight of this public-private divide was immense, a constant struggle to reconcile the two versions of yourself, knowing that the world would likely never see the true depth of your soul. For you, engagement with art was more than just a passion. It was a profound form of self-medication, a vital coping mechanism against the relentless pressures of your life. The piano keys became your confessional, the canvas your silent scream, the ballet stage a tableau of unspoken desires. In the sublime melodies of a concerto, in the vivid hues of a painting, you discovered a profound refuge, a sanctuary where your fractured emotions could find release, unjudged and unburdened. Can you feel the exquisite, fleeting solace, Margaret, as the beauty of a soaring aria or a perfectly choreographed dance allowed you to momentarily shed the suffocating weight of your public persona, finding a transient peace in the purity of creation? It was a fragile, temporary healing, but one you clung to with a desperate ferocity, a vital lifeline in a world that often felt cold and unforgiving. Your personal imprint on the arts was undeniable, extending far beyond the mere act of patronage. Your discerning eye, your bold and often unconventional taste left an indelible mark on the British cultural landscape. Perhaps it was your insistence on a particular innovative staging for an opera, or your championing of a controversial new artist, or even your meticulous personal involvement in the design of an exhibition. Your unique vision, Margaret, a blend of inherent royal sophistication and untamed rebellious spirit, left an indelible mark on the artistic tapestry of the nation. A legacy woven with passion and daring, visible to those who truly understood the language of beauty. You possessed an innate understanding of aesthetics and a fearless appreciation for the avant-garde, making your contribution far more significant than a simple royal endorsement. Despite the persistent, often cruel, scandalous label thrust upon you by the outside world, deep within your essence you remained a beautiful soul, perpetually drawn to truth, beauty, and authentic love. It stood in stark, undeniable opposition to the superficial, often distorted image the world had so cruelly painted of you. A testament to a soul far deeper than any headline could convey, a secret garden hidden from the public gaze. This hidden beauty, this profound artistic sensibility, was only your closest confidants, and most importantly, your beloved children were truly privy to, a quiet strength that sustained you through endless public storms. This story, then, offers a glimpse into the enduring, often overlooked legacy you left behind. It was a legacy of profound artistic passion and unwavering maternal love, a testament to a spirit that refused to be confined by labels or expectations. This was the complexity, Margaret, the profound multi-dimensionality of a human being. A secret buried deep beneath the sands of time, accessible only to those who truly dared to listen, to truly see beyond the glittering facade and the sensational headlines, to the beating heart of a princess who dared to live and to love on her own terms. It is a reminder that even amidst the grand narratives of royalty and scandal, the most potent stories often lie in the unseen depths of a human heart.
The vibrant kaleidoscope of dazzling lights and endless laughter had long faded, replaced by the hushed, cavernous silence of your private rooms. Now, in the twilight of your years, Princess Margaret, you sat, often alone, a solitary figure in a grand armchair, the air thick with the ghost of 1,000 cigarettes. The overflowing ashtray beside you was a stark monument to a lifelong companion that had become your slow, insidious betrayer. Your breath came in shallow, rasping sighs, each exhalation a testament to the relentless, unforgiving toll exacted by decades of indulgence. Do you feel it, Margaret, the insidious, gnawing truth of time's relentless toll, the irreversible choices etched into your very bones, breathing out in every ragged, smoke-filled sigh, a silent condemnation of a life lived on the edge? The once vivacious spark in your eyes, though still present, was now dimmed by a profound weariness. The lines etched deep into your face, a map of joy, sorrow, and defiance. Then came the first tremor, a sudden, terrifying betrayal of your once vibrant body. The first stroke struck like a thunderbolt in 1998, a cruel, immediate obliteration of your fierce independence. One moment you were sharp, witty, sovereign of your own movements, the next a chaotic symphony of scrambled thoughts, a terrifying loss of control. Can you recall that terrifying plunge, Margaret? The sudden, brutal betrayal of your own body, a vibrant symphony silenced by a single, shattering, discordant note, plunging you into a terrifying abyss of physical weakness? The humiliation was a bitter pill, the struggle to form words, the reluctant dependence on others for even the simplest tasks. Your fierce pride, once an unyielding fortress, began to crumble under the relentless assault of physical frailty, a cruel irony for a woman who had spent a lifetime fighting for self-mastery. The dazzling spotlight, which had relentlessly pursued you for decades, now began to slowly, irrevocably dim. You gradually receded from the public eye, your once frequent royal engagements and glamorous social appearances becoming increasingly rare. The vibrant stage of your life, where you once danced in the dazzling spotlight, slowly, almost imperceptibly emptied, leaving you to retreat into the quiet, isolating wings, a forgotten star, still burning, but hidden from the collective gaze. Public photographs of you became scarce, replaced by fleeting glimpses of a frail figure on quiet outings or at only the most significant family occasions. The world, which had devoured every scandalous detail of your youth, now watched your slow fade with a mix of pity and detached observation, a cruel testament to the transient nature of fame and beauty. In those increasingly quiet years, a singular, unwavering light shone through the gathering gloom, the steadfast presence of your sister, Queen Elizabeth II. Her visits to your apartment, though often brief and steeped in formality, were moments of profound connection, laden with unspoken history. Do you remember, Margaret, the comfortable,
poignant silences that would settle between you and your sister, punctuated only by the soft clink of teacups, a lifetime of shared experiences and burdens passing between two souls without need for words. There was no judgment in her eyes, only a deep, enduring affection and a quiet concern that transcended all the vast differences in your lives. Only the ancient whispering stones of the palace walls truly bore witness to the silent tears, the shared glances of profound understanding between two sisters bound by blood and an unimaginable destiny, a bond forged in the crucible of duty and love. As your body betrayed you, your mind, surprisingly, became a vibrant, non-linear tapestry of memories. In the quiet solitude of your fading days, the ghosts of loves lost, of vibrant parties, of childhood laughter danced a spectral waltz through your mind, a bittersweet symphony of what was and what might have been. Peter Townsend's kind smile, Antony Armstrong-Jones' artistic intensity, the intoxicating thrill of London nightclubs, the innocent joy of your early days with your sister, all revisited you with startling clarity. The happiness of moments past mingled with the sharp tang of regret for choices made and paths not taken, a poignant, painful reckoning with the intricate mosaic of your extraordinary life.
Yet even with family and a loyal retinue of attendants, a profound, chilling loneliness settled deep within you. The sprawling palace, once your vibrant stage, now felt like a cold, cavernous tomb, its vast halls echoing with the chilling silence of profound solitude, even amidst a retinue of watchful eyes. Did you not feel it, Margaret, the cruel irony of being surrounded by magnificent splendor, yet sinking deeper into an isolation that no amount of grandeur could ever fill? A prisoner of your own diminishing world? The cold grandeur of the rooms, the endless echoing corridors, seemed to mock your solitary state, transforming the very setting of your life into a haunting symbol of your ultimate isolation, a gilded cage that now felt more like a mausoleum. Then the final silence. On February 9th, 2002, a silent whisper, a final ragged breath, and the world shifted on its axis. The news rippled through the palace walls first, a somber, heavy stillness settling upon the usually bustling corridors. Then it broke across the nation, then the world. Princess Margaret was gone. It marked not just the passing of a royal, but the definitive end of an era, a vibrant, rebellious flame extinguished, a final poignant curtain falling on a life that had captivated and confounded generations. It was the end of a very specific kind of royal life, one that had dared to challenge, to live, to love, and to suffer with unapologetic intensity. Your funeral was a solemn spectacle, a grand, poignant ceremony steeped in centuries of royal tradition. The solemn dirges, the hushed reverence of the crowd offered a majestic farewell, yet beneath the somber pomp, the contentious legacy of your life, Margaret, continued to whisper on the winds, a symphony of praise and harsh judgment. Can you hear it, Margaret, the cacophony of voices still debating your existence? Some weeping for the lost princess, others still casting stones for the choices you made, a testament to a life that refused easy categorization. Some mourned the passing of a beloved princess, a symbol of glamour and defiance. Others still judged the excesses and controversies that had defined your public image. Your life remained, even in death, a powerful, divisive narrative, a testament to your enduring ability to provoke and fascinate. Your legacy, Princess Margaret, is a complex, indelible mark etched into the tapestry of British history. Despite the tumultuous tides of scandal and the crushing weight of tragedy, you remain etched in history as the Princess Margaret, a soul audacious enough to love, to live, and to bravely bear the brutal cost of freedom in a world where duty was a golden, inescapable cage. Did you not, through your very existence, become a living testament to the eternal struggle between individual desire and royal expectation? A defiant, beautiful paradox? You shattered some barriers, blurred some lines, dared to dream of a life less constrained, even if complete liberation remained forever just beyond your grasp. You were a pioneer, albeit a flawed one, charting a course that would later influence the very future of the monarchy's relationship with personal choice. Your story, Margaret, continues to reverberate through the annals of history, a potent, enduring echo, a stark reminder of the crushing weight of the crown and the fragile, yearning heart of humanity. They say that your life, in all its vibrant, painful complexity, stands as a vivid, unforgettable lesson about the paradox of royalty and the universal, relentless human yearning for true freedom, a tale whispered through the corridors of power and the quiet chambers of every heart. It is a legacy not of perfection, but of defiant authenticity, a life lived with undeniable passion, leaving behind a timeless, poignant testament to the ultimate cost of a crown and the boundless, sometimes destructive pursuit of a life truly lived. And so our extraordinary journey through the complex life of Princess Margaret comes to an end. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into a world of love, duty, and defiance. We hope you've been as captivated by her story as we are. If you found this narrative compelling, please consider showing your support by liking this video, subscribing to our channel for more historical insights, and leaving a comment below with your thoughts. Your engagement means the world to us.